What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Badgers. We're going to talk about Gard. Who's at fault here? Is it the players? Is it Gard? And where are we a day after that tough Indiana loss on the spectrum of this? We're going to talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. I'm your host, Ryan Herrings. Thank you so much, as always, just for making us a part of your day. I say that a lot. I hope it doesn't get old saying it, because really giving us a little bit of your time means everything. It's humbling. It's incredible. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And we got a new guest today. I'm excited, man, to talk to Dylan. So Dylan is somebody I've gone back and forth with on Twitter before. Younger Badger fan, which, by the way, is needed on this show sometimes. Our demographics are getting a little old, so I'm excited to get a different perspective, which, again, is what this show is all about. So, Dylan, man, thanks for jumping aboard, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, Ryan. Been watching your show for a while. Glad to be on here.
Glad to have you. I want to just start here. So I talked a lot yesterday about the Indiana loss. Where are you on this? If the needle is all the way to the right, Gard is awesome. Nothing's wrong. And the needle all the way to the left is burn it to the ground, man. Where are you right now?
I would say I'm probably about like 65, 75% we're on the ground, but I don't know. I still hold hope just because of what we've seen in the beginning of the year. We've seen what this team can be and what they are capable of. But I mean, yeah, it's been 2 years straight of just starting off well and a downfall. So I mean, I think Illinois is a big game on Saturday. Like, I think that it's pretty, like, it's not a must win, but for the team's like well-being, I think that's a big one at home.
Yeah, I think that's a team that the Badgers almost need to win to keep this thing from spiraling. You get it at home, ranked team. Let me ask this: at the beginning of the year, right? Obviously, the Badgers got up to 6, a couple of big wins. Is that version of the team still in here somewhere, or was that a mirage? Do you think? I think this is an interesting question.
I think, like, how can you say that it's not, Like, honestly, I think something that you guys have touched on a little bit before, but I don't think it's brought up enough, is how big Kamari McGee is to this team. He's not Brad Davidson, but like he'll do whatever you need him to do on that court. Like, if you need him to knock down a shot, he'll knock down a shot. He'll guard the best defender. He'll go after every loose ball. Like, I feel like Max is about like the only guy right now that's like doing all that. And I mean, like, you see Tyler Wall will do it here and there and everything like that. And I mean, he's a tough player and nails, but yeah, I think that Kamari McGee is just a huge missing piece right now. And I mean, like, we'll get him back. And I mean, I still think that this team is capable of everything that they had their mind set on at the beginning of this year. I mean, I can still see this team getting to Sweet 16, Elite 8, but I mean, you got to turn it around like now.
Yeah. No, it's interesting with McGee. I was talking about someone literally today about that too, and he brought that up. I didn't think his loss would be this big, but it really feels like without McGee, the bench is shortened. The starters have to play more. I think he's had a much bigger impact than anyone could have thought of, which, honestly, here's a question. Isn't that kind of on Gard for not having a deeper bench where, like, I guess let me rephrase that. If the Kamari McGee injury can sink your team, essentially, then you got to recruit a deeper bench.
Yeah, and I mean he tried to do that, and like, it's one like that I won't get on him too much against. But I mean, he tried to go after Noah Reynolds. He got Noah Reynolds, but I mean, from everything I've heard, Noah Reynolds just left because of like other family members being at Green Bay. But I mean, you see what he's doing at Green Bay. I mean, he had the piece here. He had the piece here, but just lost him too late. I mean, I love what John Blackwell's doing. He's the most aggressive player besides AJ Storr on the team right now. That is one.
Really quick, I'm just pulling up Noah Reynolds' stats really quick, but sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but that is one thing that I think is against AJ Storr, and I mean, you guys have touched on it a lot too, but shot selection, man. Like, I think if AJ Storr can just figure out that shot selection, and like, we'll get into Stephen Crowl a little bit later, you had said, but yeah, I think if he could figure out the shot selection, this team can get going again. Like, but yeah, that's where I'm at with the team right now.
I love that you brought up Noah Reynolds, though, because that's something that I don't think since he left the program, and he was never really here, but since he committed, then decommitted, I don't think I've really mentioned him. Let's go back to, because Badger fans might not even really remember, right? Noah Reynolds, transfer portal guy coming in. He was going to be the lead guard off the bench, right? Right now he is averaging, let's see, Noah Reynolds, 19.7 points per game, right? 19.7 points per game at Green Bay. Now, that doesn't translate to 19.7 in the Big Ten, but
yeah,
you're right. That's a great point. Like, Gard had identified another backup guard that would have been here with McGee, and for reasons that I don't think are on Gard. Like, he went to play for his brothers at Green Bay, correct?
Yeah. And I mean, you can even see the difference on that Green Bay team right now. Like, he's been hurt the last 3 games, and they've spiraled. They look completely different now. And I mean, like you're saying, he got the piece, just didn't stick.
Oh man, that would have been a fun one to have. Now, I would argue still, at the end of the day, ultimately, you got the piece that didn't stick means you didn't get the piece, right? Like, maybe you needed a plan B, right? Okay, Reynolds was obviously a great identify from Gard. You got him. He left. You can't be left flat-footed still, but that's hard. Like, it's a hard spot to be in.
Yeah, there is. I mean, like while we're on this kind of topic, I mean, that is one big thing that I cannot. That's starting to get on my nerves about Gard is the in-state talent just not coming. Like, I mean, you want to talk about some other guards that were in the portal this offseason. You got Andrew Rohde, he's from right around town, and I mean, you also got Jackson Pavletsky from right over here in Kimberly. But I mean, both of them could have came off the bench as they are doing right now at their schools, and I mean, been productive.
Yeah, I think bench has been a consistent issue with Gard, right? You look back to last year, that was a bad bench.
Yeah.
This year, I don't think it's deep enough. I think, honestly, let me ask you this. We're going to take a break for some friends of the show, but I want to get to this after the break, because you mentioned it. You said the team starts off a certain way, and it seems like there's a trend of the Badgers faltering. My thoughts are, I think the depth on the team is one of the biggest factors in that. I think the starters get run into the ground a little bit, or one injury, be it Wall last year, McGee this year, the team can't compensate, because I don't think the bench is there. I'm curious on your take on that after the break, if that is why the team falters, or if you think there's another reason why this team has faltered. We're going to get into that next after the break with Dylan, but first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at eBay Motors. eBay Motors is the #1 source for all your car part needs, right? And I've talked about, listen, on the handyman scale, I'm not a 10, but I'm not a 1. I'm somewhere in the middle. My wife rated me at a 5. I think I'm more like a 7. Like, I've done some things, but I'm not fixing my own car. So I got to go get the parts. I go to eBay Motors. I get the right parts, the right fit, the right prices every single time. I don't go to that shop down the road that employs somebody who doesn't want to be there, and he doesn't really know the parts, and he may not have it in the warehouse, and he's going to give me whatever he's got. That's not where I'm going. I'm going to eBay Motors to find the part that I need for my ride or die, because I'm keeping my ride or die alive until it literally can't drive anymore. And that's a long time if you use eBay Motors. Keep your ride or die alive over at eBay Motors with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. eBay Motors, the right pits, for the right parts, the right fit, the right prices. All right, let's get Dylan back on here. Dylan, I want to kick that question back to you. I think depth plays a big part in the late season fades. I'm curious if you think that's the case, or if there's something else here that you think is an issue.
Well, we can talk about the bench first. I think, and you touched on this also at the beginning of the year. I still believe that Gard should have started Connor at the beginning of the year over Max. I mean, either way, because like you can see it now, like Connor has improved on defense. Like, I don't care what anybody says or anybody has to say. I believe Connor has improved on defense, and I mean, like, I think if he just would have started and you had Max come off the bench, I mean, like you've seen that Max can just be a spark plug. Like he can catch that microwave vibe. But I mean, like So I think that was a big mishandling right there. But yeah, I mean, the bench, like, I think that there is issues with the bench. I mean, like, we have to play Isaac Lindsay. Like I think that's an issue at times. Like, I mean, I wish Gus was playing a little bit more this year or at all this year, I guess.
Right. At all?
yeah, like that's a huge missing piece. But I mean, like, yeah, I mean, I also think that it's poor handling of minutes. Like you look at the game log from last year, from last night. AJ Storr only played 24 minutes. Like he can't only play 24 minutes, especially with like how you're saying, like we're short right now on guards to begin with, and like our bench isn't. We don't have no production right now. Like he can't play 24 minutes a night.
I think you make a really interesting point looking back, and it's impossible to say, but with Connor, and again, that's who I thought should have started. It feels like with the defensive issues anyway, maybe you would have lost a bunch, and maybe you would have had an engaged Connor. I think there's a scenario where Connor is the version of more of what he was last year. And then my point, I think you made the same thing, and I agree. Max would have been fine coming off the bench. Like, I don't think there would have been any issues there. So
no.
I mostly agree with that, but I will say maybe in practice, right? Like that's the one thing we don't see, and it's possible like Connor just wasn't guarding in practice. I have no idea, but
yeah, maybe he was a traffic cone. Who knows? But
I mean, I was right there with you though. I felt like it was a mistake at the moment, and it doesn't mean it's a mistake now either. Like it's easy in 2020 to look back, but clearly Connor is not the Connor of last year, and that's one of the things you can point to as a reason why.
Yeah.
Talk to me. By the way, really quick, let me ask you this. I'm actually not off the Gus Bus bandwagon. Like, I still feel like if he's engaged and he's here next year, like he's going to be a really good piece for us.
Oh yeah, no, I actually like I was around Gus a little bit, like when he went to Xavier. One of my friends' brother was in his grade, and they were close friends, and I love Gus. Like, I think he's going to be a beast. I just can't wait for his time to come. But I mean, I can't wait for Daniel either. I cannot wait.
Well, let's go there. Like, actually, let's go to Gus. No, let's go to Stephen Crowl, because talking about Gus, obviously one of the big parts of what we were hoping Gus would be is that front court depth this year, right? Like, we have a bit of an issue, and that's not. We've talked about it a ton. The depth in the front court isn't great. Gus was going to help alleviate some of that if he was going to be a part of this. What are your thoughts on Stephen Crowl? Because it's no secret for people who watch this show that I feel like I'm higher on Stephen Crowl than a lot of people are. And I want to be super – it's not because I think he's a star. I just think the takes that I'm going to throw one of them up here. Let's see. Crowl needs to leave after this year, right? Sick of the excuses that he's just not what everyone thinks he should be. And listen, I respect that. Like, everyone's opinion is everyone's opinion, but I'm telling you, Crowell's a good basketball player. They just need more athleticism in the front court is where I'm at. I'm curious where you're at on Stephen Crowl.
No, I have written down right here, actually. I think he just needs to shoot the ball. Like, he needs to be aggressive. Like, I honestly think he just needs to be aggressive. Like, he has the ability to be a double-double machine in and out in the Big Ten. like, he's just not like, he doesn't throw his body around. He's not like, he needs to be aggressive. I mean, I look at KenPom a lot. I don't know if you use that or not, but I look at KenPom. Yeah, I look at KenPom a lot, and I mean, if you look at Stephen Crowl, he's the best offensive rating on the team. Like, he's doing something right. He's averaging 11.2 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, and a 2.1 assist. I mean, he's one of the best passers on the team too. Like, I mean, I think Stephen Crowl is great, and I mean, if we're talking about Gus, I think Stephen Crowl is great for Gus's progression too. And I mean, and also for Nolan. Like, I think Nolan and Gus are going to be phenomenal.
So I think it gets lost. And by the way, like, Crowl, from a shooting percentage standpoint, has gotten better across the board from last year. Like, he's improved. He's taken steps. He's gotten better. When was the last time you saw the ball swing to Crowl on the perimeter and he took an in-rhythm three?
Like, he's shooting 44% from three.
Shoot the ball.
44%. Shoot the ball. And I was saying the same thing about Chucky earlier, like middle of the year. Like, there would be times where Chucky would take a screen, and no matter what happens after that screen is took, he's passing the ball. Like there were so many times where I thought like, oh, you can take an easy floater right here. Oh, you can get to like throw your body, get into the lane. But I mean, like now Chucky started to get it going. He's starting to see his shots and take the right shot and stuff like that. So I mean, that's good to see. So yeah, I mean, we'll just see. We'll see. But I mean, yeah, I'm all in. Like, not, well, I wouldn't say all in on Crowl, but I still think that he's a great player. Like, he's a great college basketball player.
Well, yeah, and you can't be all in on a guy because defense. I shouldn't say you can't. The reason that the problem with Crowl, right, is I continually say he's not going to be this springy, shot blocking, athletic big man that you want. Like, that's not who he is. And people say, well, if that's not who he is, we got to get someone else. Yeah, you do need help. This is what I've continually said. You do need to get more athletic in the front court. You do need to bring help in to augment Stephen Crowl. But that doesn't mean he's not a piece of the puzzle, right? Like, he's still a good college basketball player. Athletic bigs are always going to give him problems, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you throw the entire thing out, because he causes problems for smaller bigs. He causes problems in other ways. Like, he's still a good college basketball player. But yeah, you need help. But needing help doesn't mean you get rid of Stephen Crowl, is the point I've tried to make. And maybe not always so well, but I mean, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I would have to totally agree. I mean, you've seen games where he's dominated and put up 20 and 10s. Like, he's done it before. He's very capable of doing it. So, yeah, I'm right there with you on that, man.
So let me ask you this. Big picture, who do you put most of the fault on with this stretch? Greg, Gard, and the coaching staff, or the players with this February stretch? Who's most, in your opinion, to blame, knowing that it's not all one or the other, obviously?
You know, I keep going back to poor handling of minutes. Like, I would have to say the coaches. Like, I just think like I mean, if you've heard Gard say it in like interviews before that he thinks that this team, well, in the beginning of the year at least, that he thought this team was very deep. And I mean, I think like this point in the year, like he's got to get through his head. Like, it's not as deep as we think it is, and it's time to go. Like, it's time to go. We got to start cutting up these minutes and let's go.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think he's also got to let the boys play. Like, you got to let them flow sometimes. Like, this team is very capable of running, I think. Like, I think this team can just, like, get up and down a little bit, you know? Like, get going. Like, they have the 16th adjusted offense or efficiency on offense. Like, this team is still a very good offensive team. Like, I think you just got to let them go sometimes, you know? Like, let them run.
He struggles with that, though. Like, so.
Yeah, I know. But, like, this day and age, he's in college. Like, it's just time. Like, you can't go through stretches in a game anymore of 3+ minutes where you don't score. Like, it's not going to cut it anymore.
No, and they finished the Indiana game. What, 2 minutes 6 seconds without points? Like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
No. Who's the one guy on this team that you think needs more minutes?
I would have to say, well, first AJ Storr. You can't get 24 minutes a game. Or like last night, you can't just get 24 minutes. And then I would also have to say like Nolan. I think Tyler Wall is getting too many. That is one guy I will say I think is getting a little bit too many now. Like, I get it last year, whatever, but I think Nolan should be getting a little bit more minutes, and same with like Blackwell, John Blackwell, and Nolan and Connor. Those should be the only three until McGee comes back that are seeing valuable minutes off the bench.
I'm going to come back.
But I think.
Oh, go ahead. Finish.
Oh, sorry. Or I was just going to say, I think Connor should be seeing the floor. Like, Connor should be seeing the floor so that, yeah, just so like so that he's not going like, because when he goes in right now, like, you can just tell like he's like, all right, I got to get some shots up because I'm not in here for long. Like, I think you gotta ride him now. Like, you gotta go.
Yeah, I do think he's put in a super hard spot. Like, I think Gard, for whatever reason, has kind of made up his mind on this. I don't think we're going to see it change, but I think he's put in an almost impossible spot. If he goes out there and he misses a shot, he's coming out. If he has a bad rotation, he's coming out, right? And you're not going to succeed as a sophomore coming off the bench like that. You're just not. Now, I think you can make the argument, and I've made the argument, if he's shooting, I mean, I do grant that he's put in a tough spot. He's also shooting pretty poorly. So it can be hard.
Yeah. No, yeah, you are right with that. Like he isn't shooting very good, but who knows why that is. But yeah.
No, I don't think he's been put in the best spot. All right, we're going to take one more quick break for our friends of the show. Come back with Dylan. I'm going to pose this question here, come back with Dylan's answer. Find what do you think the record down the stretch is going to be? And then let's talk a little bit about Daniel Freitag and what you think the future could be there with Daniel Freitag. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break. I saw the smile on Dylan when I spoke of Freitag. Everybody's excited for that cat. Take a quick break for our friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the #1 source for all of our sports betting needs and information. Again, that's where if you want to go put some money on the Badgers like I did against Indiana because Rajiv told me to. Rajiv said it was a lock of the week. Rajiv said, lock it up. So I put money on it. Listen, I went to FanDuel. That's where you're going to do it. Go over to FanDuel.com/lockedon for all your sports betting needs and information, even if you get bad advice from a good friend, from a trusted source, like some of us do. That's where you go to do all your action. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Basketball, football, baseball, futures, parlays, teasers. It's all there. Fast, easy, quick, simple to use. The payouts are incredibly simple, painless. Unlike a lot of those other sites where you can't get your money out, even if you have it in there. FanDuel has simplified it, made it easy. The user interface is clean, fast, and seamless. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network, the NFL, and the NBA. All right, let's get Dylan back on. And Dylan, this is awesome, man. I really do appreciate you coming on as always. All right, I shouldn't say as always, coming on for the first time. And I hope we can.
Thank you for having me on.
No, dude, this is awesome. I got a couple comments I want to get into. I want to start with what's the record down the stretch? Like, how did the Badgers finish out the season? How are you feeling going into March? And maybe one more add on to this. What do they need to do to get you comfortable here? Like, what's the bare minimum that you want out of this?
So when you ask for record, are you talking like tournaments, all of that, or just regular season here?
So regular season, we got 3 games left. Obviously coming up, you mentioned a huge game coming up against Illinois. You're going to finish with Purdue.
Oh yeah.
How do you think they finish this season out?
I think they will be 2-1. I think they'll finish up 2-1. I hope they win against Illinois. I really do, but I don't know if it's going to be that one. But I think that they will win one of the 2 against Illinois or Purdue. Okay. I think that Purdue game, win or lose, how they play in that game will be huge. I think they've got to play that game tight. They can't, like, no matter what, like that game's got to stay close. I think otherwise, it's because we could be out in the first round again like we were last year against Ohio State.
Yeah, that'd be ugly. Talk to me about. Finish up here, and then I want to get in some comments. But last question here, you mentioned Freitag. We weren't even going to get into it, but I think it's exciting because, I think he's an exciting prospect, and it's somebody you brought up. How big of a get do you think he is, and what do you think those expectations are for year one for Daniel Freitag in Madison?
Man, I think Freitag is enormous, man. When I seen that dunk on social media everywhere, I lost my stuff, man, because I think, especially if AJ Storr stays, which, I mean, it's beginning to look more and more like that, I guess you could say.
Well, listen, let's pause there really quick because some people may not have seen the dunk. What you're referencing the off the backboard, right? The U to himself.
Oh my god! Yeah, and so, did you see like the full video of like there's like I guess there was somebody there recording him that day, obviously, and they literally asked him like. I forget who the person is. They're like, or maybe it was Ja. They're like, you see that video of Ja throwing it off the backboard? And then he's like, yeah. He's like, will you try that in the game for me? He's like, yeah, I got you. And he did it that day for him. It was crazy.
Like calling a shot, man. That's ridiculous. So
what crazy, man.
Like, cause first of all, I see people not be able to do that in like warm-ups, let alone in a game. Like that's ridiculous athleticism for a guard, right? What are reasonable expectations for year one? Because I think we're getting to the point where we are almost, I don't want to say overhyping, but people are almost expecting him to come in and be like the best guard. Like what are reasonable expectations for Daniel Freitag year one in Madison?
I mean, it's tough to say, I guess, because if AJ Store is here, I think Daniel Freitag will have a great freshman year because like there won't be as much attention on him. I mean, obviously, like there won't be that much tension on him at first because he'll be a freshman and all that. But like obviously throughout the year, if he's gonna have the season I think he's gonna have, there will become more scouting reports on him. But I think if AJ Store is to stay here, that releases a lot of pressure. And I mean, I don't see why he can't be a first team All Big Ten. Like, I think that this guy's sky is the limit. I think he's. I mean, even if we would have got Khan, I would have been a lot more excited about what Freitag brings. And I mean, maybe it's just because we haven't had something like it before, but I'm just so pumped. I'm so pumped for him. But there was one thing I did want to mention earlier, and I think that this was a big miss in the in-state recruiting. Milan Momcilovic, I think if he was here this year, oh my goodness.
Yeah, could have used it.
Yeah.
Now there's been a lot like in-state recruiting's a wasteland almost for the Badgers and Gard, and it's a little different than football, but yeah, it's not great, and that's an overstatement.
And I mean, another guard that they missed out on, Nick Janikowski. I mean, Evan Flood has tweeted about it a couple times, but I think he's an aggressive guard that would be big for this team. Like, he's a guy that will dig his nose in the dirt and do whatever. But
feels like a guy who's going to find a way to score 15 points a game some nights just out of like tenacity and skill.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the thing with Freitag too, and I said this when both he and Khan were uncommitted, so this isn't like revisionist history. I said Freitag's a bigger get for Wisconsin if they can get him, because I think it's harder for Wisconsin to get a guy like that with that skill set than it is for them to get. And it's no disrespect to Khan, but to get a forward who's more of that all-around type of guy that Khan is, we just don't see as many Freitag types in Madison. And for that reason, I think I agree with you. I think he's the bigger get, and I think he's going to play right away, I think, because he gives the team athleticism in the backcourt that they don't have.
I mean, I don't see why he isn't like the sixth man next year.
I can't wait. I can't wait for next year's team, honestly. But this year's not over. Let's say I'm going to finish up on here. We get to March. This team's getting to March. What does Greg Gard and this team need to do in March for you to be okay? I'm okay with this year. What needs to happen?
I want to see rhythm in the offense again. I just feel like there's like it's like there's not enough rhythm. It just feels like too like scripted, I guess you'd say. Like you got to see that go. And I mean, I want to see everybody just showing hustle, like how Badgers teams like have hustled before, like everybody just turn into Brad Davidson real quick for us, please. Please. Dive on the ground, go after every board, and I mean, like, start playing unselfish. And like Stephen Crowl, get going. AJ Store, get to the hoop and let's go. Like, let's go, man. I still believe in this team. Like, I still think that this team can do everything that they want to put their minds to, but they got to kick out of this.
I love it, man. I love the dash of optimism too. Let's go, Dylan. Anyway, he's Dylan jumping on the show. I really appreciate it, man. I'd love to do this again. Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me on, Ryan. I'd come on whenever you'd like me to, man.
Let's go.
Go
and
Badgers.
A new friendship is born. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
This is Locked On Badgers. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, really do appreciate it. And another episode tomorrow. I think we have a fun guest coming up pretty soon as well. So, yeah, stay tuned. As always, thank you so much. And on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin. Thank you, Ryan.